So, Bill, if you could call the roll.
Ms. Khan,
Here.
Mr. Woolfolk,
Here.
Mr. Kiesling,
Here.
Mrs. Frankie,
Here.
Mrs. Kalpin, Mr. Kalpin, Mr. Kalpin.
Mr. Kalpin's here, Bill. So we'd like to go ahead and start off the meeting now that we've got the roll out of the way. I'd like to ask everybody to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And I think, Kurt, you're going to, I think, have the American flag pop up.
Yeah. See if I can do that. There you go. Can you see it?
Yeah, and I would just ask everybody to stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice
for all.
Okay.
Thank you, Kurt. So I want to welcome everybody to our inaugural virtual web meeting here with the Zoning Board of Appeals. This is the first time we've ever done this. So please bear with us as we try to move our way through the agenda. We do have, it looks to be probably 12 different attendees, in addition to our board members and some of our assistants who are helping us kind of behind the scenes make this happen tonight. So what I'm going to do is walk through the process and the procedure that we follow at these board meetings. And then if you do plan on speaking tonight as either an applicant or either someone who would like to speak in favor for or against a variance, I'll ask everyone to be sworn in mass. So we'll do that before we get into each one of the variances. And then also representing us tonight is Bill Barnett from the city, and he'll be the individual who'll be presenting the cases on behalf of the city tonight. So so what we'll do is we'll ask Bill to present each case. Once Bill presents the case, I think, Bill, you'll have maybe not a video, but maybe photos of the different variances that are being requested.
We'll have video.
Oh, video. Okay, great.
Yep.
So Bill will provide the city's presentation. He'll have a video to show the location of the variance. And once he finishes that, we'll ask the applicant, if they are on the call, to provide a brief presentation to the board. The board may have questions of the applicant during that presentation. And once that is complete, we'll then open it up for those that are in attendance on this session to have an opportunity to either speak in favor for or against the variance. And we do have all 5 members of the board here in attendance tonight. So you'll need to have at least 3 out of 5 members vote in favor of your variance for it to pass tonight. And I would ask that if you are planning on speaking tonight, to please state your name and address for the record so we can capture that. This is being recorded, and this will be for the written record. So with that being said, and I believe for each of the variances, we will have the ability to show the information or the package of information that's been provided by the applicant. Is that correct, Bill and Kurt?
Yeah.
When they're speaking? Great.
Yep.
Thanks, Kurt.
Yep.
So
I'll share my screen for that. Yep.
okay, thanks, Kurt. So so if you're planning on speaking tonight, I guess I'll ask everyone to stand once again, who might be attending, and I'll stand as your chairperson. And I know I might not be able to see all of you, but if you could please do me that favor of standing and just simply raising your right hand. And let me ask you, that is the testimony that you're about to give tonight to the City of Mason Zoning Board of Appeals, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And I would ask that everybody responds to in the affirmative to that question. Okay, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the agenda. The first item on the docket then is the approval of the January 28th, 2020 meeting minutes. We've had a fair number of comments on those
Mhm.
Bill, I guess I would ask, what might be the best way to go about this, Bill? I know we have provided written feedback on those minutes. Do you want us to document that as part of this call, or just simply make a motion to approve what has been submitted most recently by Ms. Khan?
I think I'd be okay if we just went ahead and used the most recent submission as, approval for the minutes if you choose.
Okay, and do we need to get into the details of all the particular changes, or is what we submitted for the record enough?
I think if you said as amended, I
Mhm.
think twice.
Okay, so let me just go to that. So I guess what I would do is entertain a motion then, if everyone has had a chance or an opportunity to review the comments that I provided, the comments that Bernie provided, the comments that that Ms. Khan provided, and the comments that Ms. Frankie provided. And I guess I would ask James, are there any other further comments that you might have on those meeting minutes?
No, I reviewed them. They seem pretty normal.
Okay, great. So go ahead, Deb.
I still do need clarification, and maybe it's just my memory, but on the bottom of page 3, everything else was fine. It's just that letter that was submitted to the board by Cindy Metz. She was the person that talked about how the businesses are looking for smaller footprints, all of that.
Yeah, right.
The last sentence says she finally requested City of Mason for a variance. I don't remember her asking for a variance. I thought she was just submitting a letter as an exhibit, but that she herself was not requesting a variance.
I agree with that comment, Deb. I would
Okay.
suggest we simply strike that last sentence because it doesn't add anything else to the discussion.
I agree. Yeah, I would agree. I think it started out being cumbersome to me. And even with the rework on it, I still don't think it adds any value. In fact, I would challenge what that sentence says. So I would prefer that it be just
Stricken.
removed, stricken.
Okay. So I guess then what I would suggest is I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes that were most recently submitted by Ms. Khan. And I'll just say those were submitted, I believe, on Wednesday, April 29th at 5:17 p.m. to the board and also representatives of the city, with the amended stricken sentence at the bottom of page 3. So I would entertain a motion for that.
Okay. I move that we approve the January 28th, 2020 minutes that were most recently submitted or amended by Ms. Khan on Wednesday, the 29th at 5:17, with the amendment that that last sentence on page 3 be stricken from the minutes.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, the minutes as amended are passed. Thank you for that. I appreciate everybody's feedback and input on those. I know those were lengthy meeting minutes. So let's go ahead and get into the specific variances that are on our agenda tonight. We have let's see, 5 items on the agenda, or variances, I should say. The first one is a setback variance. It's at 5761 Sunnybrook Drive. The zoning is R3. It's requested for a reduced rear yard setback for a deck. It's requested by Kishore Kalakiri. It's case number PLN 20-14. And Bill, I'll turn it over to you for your for the city's disposition on this in a video.
All right, thank you. Like you said, I believe it's pronounced Kishore Kalakiri, requesting a variance for the construction of a deck on the rear of the house that would extend up into the 30-foot rear yard setback. And the house is located in an R3 zone, which requires a 30-foot rear yard setback. And the house currently sits 37 feet from the rear property line. And there's also a 20 feet water line easement that is offset from the rear property line in this particular situation. The applicant's requesting the variance for the construction of a 16 by 20-foot deck that would extend about 9 to 10 feet into the required 30-foot rear yard setback. And while we're not completely opposed to this request, we do want to be cautious about setting what could appear to be a precedence for other lots with a similar situation in this circumstance.
All right. Bill, you want me to, can you guys see the site plan?
We can see the site plan. Kurt, is it
Yeah.
going to be a video or is this all there is?
Yep, now I can play a video. Let's see. All right. Oh, I just closed it.
There it is, Kurt.
Yeah, that's showing up okay?
That's perfect.
Mhm.
All right.
And I believe we do have Mr. Kalakiri in attendance. So I guess what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to allow him to speak to the board and to those that are in the attendance in the audience. And Mr. Kalakiri, if you'd like to go ahead and provide your presentation to the board, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak now.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Hi, thank you for taking opportunity to listen to my request. As I had mentioned, I lived in Westchester for 14 long years, and then you know, we decided to move here to Mason just 6 months ago, just because you know, even 6 miles away, a lot of our friends are here, but you know, the school district wise, everything, you know, this is a fantastic place. So we literally looked at this location to buy a house here. And at the time when we bought, we looked at it, you know, we had a huge deck there. And I have my parents and my in-laws who are a bit old. They usually come and visit, you know, 3 to 4 months a year. They are not able to take a stair down to go down. You know, as you can see in the backyard, there are steps that they need to that they are not accessible, convenient for them. So that's why I was thinking about actually building a deck. And pardon me, I was not aware of these rules and regulations that I needed to get the approval. So initially when I came in, I just spoke to a contractor and, hey, you know, go get started. And then that's when Bill came and told me that, hey, you know, that's not how it works, and you have to go through the process. So when I tried to apply for the approval, Bill said, you know, hey, you could build up to, I guess, 7.75 feet depth because of the easements, and I have a 4-year-old. It just my only request here is that it's you know, 7.75 is such a small place, and I understand that it's you know, you have to take into account of what is there. I just looked at my neighbor, you know, who seemed to have similar deck built, and all I was asking for was something similar to that. And with the water easements, it looks like it's a 20 feet. I spoke to the water department there. They didn't have a whole lot of information to give, but Bill was kind enough to provide me the documentation where it says there is a 20 feet. So my request today is, I understand that 16 feet is way into that. If you take the 20 feet easement out, that leaves me with 17.75 feet. And I only ask you to approve for a 14 feet if possible. And even in that 14 feet, the pole that they need to dig, it won't cross 11 feet. meaning I guess you could have up to 2 to 3 feet of the deck extending, but not really the pole. I guess the balance, that it stands on, the wooden pole, so to speak, that you have to dig into the ground for the deck to stay strong. That one will not cross 10 feet. That's my only request, where my parents or my in-laws, if they come there, there's a lot of sunshine, they could just sit and relax during the sunny days. Hope you understand where I come from, India, that they're not used to just sitting inside the house all the time. So I hope you take that into consideration of my parents' situation, and also my little one, where he has some space to move around. Um, you know, um, Making a minor exception in this case, that from 7.75, I only ask you for 2 more feet to dig that pole in, and then no more than 2 to 3 feet further out. In this, I wanted to make sure my neighbors are also okay with it. So I went and I talked to each and every neighbor that could see my deck, and I have submitted the written approvals to Bill in that regard, that they don't have a problem with that. So I hope you take everything into this consideration, and before you decide on this one. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity. I'll wait for you guys to talk about it.
Yeah, you're welcome, Mr. Kalikari. We appreciate you being here with us tonight in these somewhat unusual circumstances. Kurt, is there any way that you can show the drawing of the applicant's property and the
Yeah. Yep.
just for
And
us to be able to see that?
I have the letters as well that the applicant was just talking about, each of the letters that he was talking about.
I did forward those on to the board members. I just want to make sure that they all got them individually. Is that correct, everyone?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
Yes.
At least I did. Yep.
So there's the 5 letters from their neighbors. Okay, and then is that showing up okay on your screen?
That's perfect, Kurt. Appreciate it. So, Mr. Kalikari, I guess I had a question for you.
Yes.
And that is, can you just reiterate what is the size of the deck?
So
You can see
initially,
the image that's on the screen. I just want to make sure I understand the size of the deck and what is
so
being requested, and how. I'm not sure if it's consistent, Bill, with what was in the presentation by the city.
yes. So initially, I thought it was not a problem to approve for a 16 feet depth, which is out of the 37.75. But upon
Right.
talking to my neighbors, and my next door neighbor, who is 5781 Sunnybrook Court, he had to go through similar process with you guys, and then he mentioned, that's just cuts too far into the water easement, which is, even though if it's 100-year easement, I still need to respect that. So that's when, after talking to him, I thought that I should do no more than 14 feet. That would still leave 4 feet of the easement with the water easement, adding another 20 feet. Even within that, when Bill mentioned that I could have a patio, as much as I want without going through any approval process, I thought about it, and I felt like, so instead of doing that, if I did the deck with the wooden support that is dug no farther than 10 feet, which means and then you would get another 2 feet of the wood extension itself. If you measure it, all I am asking for is like 12 to 13 feet of the deck length, but the wooden support itself would not cross no more than 10 feet. No more than 10 feet. So all I'm asking for in this case is the 2.25 feet of extension, your approval to dig the wooden pole for support.
So will the foundation of the deck actually be outside of the easement or inside of the easement?
Oh, well inside the easement, well inside the water easement. So the foundation would be 10 feet. That would still leave 27.5 feet, 27.7 feet.
Okay,
Which
so
means
the
easement
foundation of
is
the deck
20.
will be outside of, not contained within, but outside of the easement, correct?
Yes.
Okay. and Kurt, maybe you can help us out here for our benefit. Can you maybe just annotate the drawing in terms of the deck itself and just give us the dimensions that are being requested right now?
Yeah, so the water easement that he's talking about is this blue line here.
Right.
That's the 20 feet off the property line. What Bill has shown is 22 feet. Is that what's still being requested?
No, I'm changing that now. So I'm requesting, when you say 22 feet, meaning that 22 feet is all that would be left, right?
Right,
Kurt?
from the property line to the deck.
Right.
Well,
No, I'm looking for,
Mr.
I'm
Calicario,
asking.
let me make sure we're on the same page. What was presented to us is showing a deck that's 22 feet from the rear property line. And I want to make sure I understand what you're requesting tonight, because if we grant something, we have to make
Oh,
sure we're on the same page.
yes, yes. So at the easier thing for me is if we could go to the end of my house construction. Yes, from that point on, I'm asking for 14 feet.
So from here
Yes,
out
yes,
to the deck is 14.
14 feet. That's the maximum. Out of which all I'm requesting for is I would go no more than I guess if you approve this one, then it'll be 12 feet with the wooden support. And if you only approve 12 feet, then it'll be 10 feet into the wooden support. The wooden support would be 10 feet dug
So
into
what
the
you're
ground.
saying is there's a beam across the deck here with a couple of posts, and those posts will be that, and then the
Yes.
deck might overhang into the water easement, but the posts themselves won't be in the easement.
Yes, it will still not go into the water easement.
Yeah, I think the 14 feet, if the 14 feet is accurate, it's not going to go, even the overhang isn't going to go into the
No,
easement.
the overhang will still have 4 feet left, 3.75. It'll still
Right.
have 4 feet left into the easement.
Yeah, so that you're actually asking for a smaller deck than what this shows.
Correct. That's what I'm understanding too.
Yes, yes. Initially, when I submitted it, it was way before in January. At the time, I was too
Yeah,
excited about getting a much bigger, but I understood the practical problems here, and I need to respect that as a resident of Mason.
yeah.
So I toned down. I guess I should have given the new drawings. I just didn't think of that. I thought I could just make my case here. I apologize. It's my first time here, so I'm trying to learn as a new resident.
So the deck is actually going to be about 23.75 feet off of the
Yeah,
line.
Yes,
It would then only be a 6.25 encroaching into the setback by 6.25 feet. That's those are my calculations. Is that
right. Yep, I agree. Mhm.
And so
Yes,
let me, Mr. Calicario, let me ask you one further question, and that is, do you have steps that are coming off of that deck?
yes,
to,
it'll be
ground
somewhere in the
elevation?
middle. It'll be somewhere in the middle, sir. So if you go to the not towards the easement, it's on the side of the deck.
Good, okay, so it's not going
Past no.
towards the easement, it's going parallel with the steps are going
Yes,
to the easement
yes.
off one of the sides.
yes, yes.
Okay,
So let's see. So the steps would be over here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
that makes sense. Okay, I have no further questions of the applicant. Do any of the other board members have any questions of the applicant?
No.
I just want to know if there's any homeowner association involvement in this process.
Yes, sir. So before I submitted, I actually, how naive of me to think that I should just send an email to homeowners, and once they approve, I go build the construction, start the building the deck. And that's what I did before I approached you guys. I sent an email. I have an approval from homeowners that I'm okay to build. I guess they were not aware of the easements in the back at the time, but I do have the approval. I can
Any
forward
questions
that
of the
to
applicant?
Bill.
Okay, Mr. Calicari, we appreciate your time. We're going to go ahead and now ask any of those members or any of those individuals who are attending this virtual session, anybody who would like to speak in favor of this variance, we'd like to go ahead and give you the floor. So if you want to raise your hand we can go ahead and call on you and allow you an opportunity to speak in favor of this variance. Kurt, you might have to help me out. I can't see the attendees right now. There you go.
Looks like that's the only one that I see.
I don't see anybody raising their hand. Anybody would like to speak in favor of it? So seeing none, I'll also give an opportunity. Anyone opposed to this variance, would you like to speak in opposition? Go ahead and please raise your hand and we'll give you an opportunity to speak. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment period and open it up for board discussion. In terms of how I look at this, I want to make sure that we maintain the integrity of that easement. I really didn't, I'm really interested in preserving, that easement so there's nothing in there. I'm not in opposition of what's being presented in terms of the revision that Mr. Calicari proposed, where I think it's a deck that's 23.75 feet off of the rear property line, which is encroaching into the setback, 30-foot setback by I think 6.25 feet. So I wouldn't be, in opposition to this tonight.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah, James.
the neighbor, is that, I guess it was mentioned that you guys had did a previous, I don't know if it was the same scenario or not, but do we have?
It was a very similar scenario. I believe it was at 5781 Sunnybrook Drive. And it was a similar situation where I believe it's literally the next door neighbor, where the east to the back of the property. And we did approve that deck that was being proposed without any encroachment into the easement. If I recall correctly. And Bill, you might want to chime in if I'm misstating anything.
That sounds accurate. That was in 2015, I believe. So I'm trying to think back about 5 years, but that does sound accurate.
Yeah, it was 2015. You're right.
Bill, is that the one that's in the packet?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a very similar situation, and I believe it was that we approved it with the understanding that it not go in the easement, the water easement as well.
Any other comments from the board members? Any further discussion from the board members? Bernie?
Yes, with the fact that there are 5 neighbors who all submitted positive support for the deck, I can't be overly critical of it. I would probably expect the board to approve the case. But if you read the minutes from the meeting in year 2015, I opposed a neighbor's deck on the principle that the hardship presented was not a matter of any particular topography issues or anything that was, dimensional. It was all of a personal nature, and I believe the general approach to variances is that they should not be based on personal needs, even if it's for medical reasons and so forth. I know it's a bit harsh, but I took the stance on a matter of principle that I opposed the other deck. And I think tonight I would probably be inclined to vote against it only for that reason. I'm concerned that we're setting precedents that other neighbors are just going to keep saying, yeah, I want one just like that. Again, it's not a major problem, but I think I will be inclined to vote no.
Thanks for your comments, Bernie. Appreciate it.
Well, I think I would be inclined to vote no also if there wasn't that buffer of the easement in the back. I mean, we see these kind of situations, and if there wouldn't have been, from my personal opinion, if there wasn't that buffered area and there was a neighbor, a house that abutted this backyard, then I probably would be inclined to vote no. But I think because we've got the easement, as long as this deck is outside the easement, I don't have a problem with it.
Thanks, Deb.
Mhm.
Chris, James, any further comments?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Well, with those, with that feedback, I guess I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. What was the dimension change on that?
I think Kurt, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that I don't have the exact dimensions of the deck. You might want to pull that back up again, Kurt. I know it was 23.75 feet off the rear property line, James, so it was going into the setback, I think 6.25 feet, but I don't have the dimensions of the physical deck. Do you have that, Kurt?
No, I don't have the annotations anymore. Sorry, but yeah, I believe that's right.
I
Yeah.
think if I've got my dimensions correct, I think he's more or less asking for a 14 by 20 instead of a 16 by 20, if I followed everything correctly.
Yeah, looked like it was about 2 feet less. Mhm.
Mr.
I agree.
Calicari,
Yes,
can we
sir.
confirm that with Mr. Calicari?
Yes, sir. I was asking for a 14 by 20.
14 by 20, there you go,
Yes.
James.
Bernie?
14 feet is extending off of the house. The 20 is in parallel with the house.
Right.
I would like to add that I think for the matter of the variance, so that we don't have difficulty following it up in the future, is that we state that essentially we're granting a 6.25 foot variance.
That's correct.
Mhm.
Because the position of other houses can vary, and so therefore it's more clear if we state what the actual variance amount is.
I agree with that, Bernie.
Okay,
What
thank
was that
you.
about?
6.25.
feet.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve PLN 2014 with the setback at 6.25 and the dimensions at 14 by 20.
I'll second.
And Bill, when you're ready to call the roll?
Mr. Keeling,
No,
Mr. Calpin,
Yes.
Mrs. Frankie,
Yes,
Mrs. Khan,
Yes.
Mr. Wolfolk.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Calicari, congratulations. Your variance has been granted, and you'll be getting some paperwork from the city in that regard. Thanks for attending tonight.
Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. Taking time at 7 o'clock and trying to do this online. I really, really appreciate it. Go
Yeah, no,
Mason.
and
you're
we
welcome.
appreciate you as well, and welcome to the city of Mason. We're glad to have you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let me go back to our agenda. And our next variance is a setback variance. It's at 107 Williams Street. The zoning is R4. It's requested for a reduced front yard setback for a new house. And it's requested by Chance Custom Homes. It's case number PLN 20-18. Bill?
Thank you. Now, like you said, Chance Custom Homes is requesting a variance for a reduced front yard setback for a new single-family home at 107 Williams Street. And the property is located in Dilly subdivision, which was platted in about 1913. And the previous house was an existing non-conforming use in that it didn't conform to the current front yard setbacks of the R4 zone, which is 40 feet. And the previous house was damaged by water to the extent that it was demolished in 2010, I believe. The applicant's requesting this variance to reconstruct the house on the lot with approximately an 11-foot front yard setback to look consistent with all the other houses on that same side of the street. And by the numbers, the request is substantial. However, based on the fact that the proposed house would have a front yard setback consistent or relatively in line with the other houses on the same side of the street, we don't feel it's going to have a negative impact on this property or the surrounding properties, and we're not opposed to this particular request.
And if the applicant's in the audience, if you could raise your hand, and I'll give you the opportunity to present on behalf of the applicant. And it looks like we got Mr. Overly. Mr. Overly, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Uh,
If you go ahead and state your name and address for the record, and let me also just confirm that you were in attendance at the very beginning of our session and you were sworn in properly.
yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. Both myself and my wife were sworn in. I'm Matt Overly. My wife, Lee Overly, is with me. We currently live in Deerfield Township, Basin School District at 6379 Hummingbird Drive. We are looking to move into the city of Mason at 107 William Street. We are, as described, we're looking for a front setback variation in order to be aligned with the other houses on that side of the street. I think as my wife and I have designed the custom home, we've really looked to design something that's going to fit in with the older houses in that area, including not having a front garage. So just having that house set closer to the street like the rest of the houses around it, and similar to other houses in the neighborhood, is something that's important to us. I think that's really about it, and you know, in terms of kind of why we're looking for this. Thank you for your consideration.
Excellent. Thank you. Are there any questions of the applicant? Okay. Let me go ahead and ask, are there any members of the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this variance? All right, looks like we've got a couple that would like to speak in favor. We got Chad Chance and Joel Ash. Mr. Chance, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Chad Chance, and I've been working with Lee and Matt Overly for some time now, designing their home. So obviously, we have applied for the variance to match with the existing homes along the same side of the road, and just want to thank everyone for working online here and listening to our request for a variance.
You're welcome. Thank you for attending.
Thank you.
And Mr. Ash, I'm going to go ahead and allow you to speak now. Go ahead.
It doesn't look like he's connected to audio for some reason. It's not showing it.
Yeah, when I try to allow him to talk, it doesn't allow me to allow him to talk.
It says using an older version of Zoom. I don't know, kind of gives an error. Yeah, for some reason, he's not connected to audio.
So it looks like we're not going to be able to listen to his testimony. Okay, are there any other members who'd like to, or any of the other members of the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this variance? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone opposed who would like to speak in opposition of this variance? Okay, I don't see who wants to speak in opposition, so I'll close the public comment period and open it up for board discussion. I know that on the, I guess it was along Church Street, I think it was. I think we had maybe not the exact situation, but a similar situation where I believe we allowed a variance to allow the home to be in alignment with the existing homes to maintain that same type of consistent look. And in this particular case, I'm in agreement with the city. I think I don't think this will have a detrimental effect if we grant this variance and allow this property owner to build a home on this property and have it be in alignment with the surrounding property. So I'd be in favor of the variance tonight. Any other comments from the board members on this?
Oh, I agree. I think it would be more of a detriment not to allow it. I think to have the
Agreed.
house set back that much further than all the neighbors would definitely change the view of the street. So I'm in favor of it.
I agree. I believe the offset would be inconsistent with the rest of the neighborhood, and I think it's important that it does line up with the other homes.
Thank you.
Yep, I agree too. I agree with the city's recommendation.
Ms.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
No, I agree. I think, I think it makes sense to have everything be consistent.
Excellent. Okay, I would entertain a motion then.
I'll make a motion that we approve PLN 20-0018 as submitted.
Second.
And Bill, when you're ready?
Mr. Woolfolk,
Yes.
Ms. Khan,
Yes.
Mrs. Frankie,
Yes.
Mr. Calpin,
Yes.
Mr. Kiesling.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Overlay, congratulations. Your variance has been granted, and you'll be getting some paperwork from the city in that regard shortly. Thank you for attending tonight. We appreciate it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And thanks for going through the hoops to make this happen.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome. Thank you. All right, let me go back to the agenda again. So our next variance is a setback variance. It's at 8-7 Snyder Road. The zoning is R4. It's requested for a less than required minimum lot width for a new house. It's requested by Jeff Benson, and it's PLN 20-26. Bill?
Thank you. Like you said, Jeff Benson's requesting a variance for reduced lot width, potentially rebuild a single family house on. And the property is located on the west side of Snyder Road, south of 42, but north of High Tech Court. The parcel is zoned R4, which requires a minimum 85-foot lot width. And the lot is currently an existing non-conforming use, and that is only 80 feet wide. Now, the previous house was demolished due to structural concerns years ago, and the applicant's requesting the variance in an effort to build another house on this property. And having really no formal site plan to show how a house would be sited on this particular lot, staff would not be opposed to the request contingent on the new structure meeting all the other remaining zoning requirements for the R4 zone.
Kurt, a view of the video? Thank you, Kurt. Is the applicant in the audience attending? There's Mr. Benson. Mr. Benson, I just allowed you to speak.
Are you there?
You have the mic. Yes.
Evening, folks. I appreciate your time. A little history. I bought this property over 10 years ago, and there was a house on it that was condemned by the city. So I tore it down. We've been sitting on it ever since, and we're now looking to rebuild on it. And all I'm looking to do is use the existing setbacks for 10-foot side yards. It was platted back probably in the 50s or so, so that's why it's 80 foot. But just use the existing setback on this lot.
Mr. Benson, just a quick question. In terms of the city's disposition on this. They were not in opposition to it as long as the new structure that you build on the property is in compliance with all of the other setback requirements. Are you okay with that?
Sure, because the side yards are 10 foot, correct?
That is correct. For this particular zoning, there's a minimum 10 foot for the R4.
Yeah, I'm good with that because there's plenty of depth there. It's like 200 foot deep, so I don't have a problem with the front yard or side or backyard.
Okay, excellent. Are there any questions of the applicant from any members of the board?
No.
James, are you good? Bernie, any questions?
No.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and open it up for the audience then. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this variance? I don't see anyone raising their hand. Let me go and ask, is there anyone in opposition to this variance? And again, I don't see anyone raising their hand. So I'll go ahead and close the public comment period and open it up for board discussion. I mean, I look at this one and I given the fact that the applicant has, intent to comply with the side yard setbacks with the new structure that they built on the property, and the property isn't really changing any dimension. I think it'll be consistent with the look along Snyder Road with the other properties. I'd be in favor of the variance tonight.
I agree.
I
I have
agree.
no objection.
Same.
Okay, I would entertain a motion then.
I'll move we approve case number PLM 20-026 as submitted.
I'll second.
And Bill, when you're ready.
Mr. Kiesling,
Yes.
Mr. Calpin,
Yes.
Mrs. Frankie,
Yes.
Mrs. Khan,
Yes.
Mr. Woolfolk.
Yes.
Mr. Benson, congratulations. Your variance has been granted.
Thank you, folks. Greatly appreciate it. And Bill, you're a great first time Zoomer there, buddy.
Thank you.
Have a
Thanks
good
for attending tonight. We appreciate it.
Uh,
All right, going back to our agenda. The next item on the agenda is a sign variance. It's along Kings Mill Road and State Route 741. The zoning is B3. It's requested for a more than allowable signage. And it's requested by Mr. Mark Batista in care of Zips Car Wash. And it is case number PLN 20-28. Bill?
Thank you. Like you said, Mark Batista, who's representing Zips Car Wash, is requesting a variance for the property at Kings Mill Plaza to have a pair of directional signs with logos as well as additional ground signage. And I'll further expand, make sure we're all on the same page. And what you're looking at now, I kind of put that together because I had to go fishing for some information to make sure that I put together what I believe what was being asked for. But the applicant did since get us some additional information to further clarify, which we can go over here in a minute. And Zips Car Wash will be located on Lot 4B in the Kings Mill Plaza. And this particular lot was previously approved to have a reduced lot width of 170 feet at the January 28th meeting. And the applicant's requesting a variance for 2 on-site directional signs with company logos on them, and one that will be approximately 5 square feet and the other 18 square feet. The applicant's also proposing to have total 3 additional menu board signs in addition to the ground sign that's already permitted out front. One of approximately 26 feet and over 6 feet in height, and the other one, I believe, 48 square feet. And staff doesn't feel that having just 2 menu boards would have a detrimental effect on the property, as it's not uncommon for a pair of menu boards to be associated with drive-through type operations. Staff would like to see the square footage of the thank you sign reduced with the same color scheme as the main signage without the logos, as well as the membership sign being eliminated to reduce the need for the request. And I thought I had forwarded on to the board the additional information that the applicant gave us for clarification as to what signs going where. And let me know if you got that or not.
I did get that, Bill. Kurt, do you have that?
Mhm.
You might want to just use that, the very first image in that PowerPoint, just as the background then for the discussion. There you
There
go.
we go.
And Bill, just a question, I guess, in terms of the city's disposition on this. I mean, you had mentioned that you were looking for, from the city's perspective, I think, you know, the overall square footage of the thank you sign reduced. Did the city have any disposition on the height of these signs? Because I think those were also not in compliance with our sign code, correct?
Correct. I believe they were over the height that was allowed. And, you know, now that I got further clarification from the applicant on this, I don't know if it's a possibility for the signs that are highlighted in the purple and red to maybe be located within the car wash instead of outside. So we could, if that is the case, we could potentially maybe take those two off the table as far as what's being requested. You know, I'll leave that up to the applicant to further expand on that, whether that's a possibility or not.
Okay. And Kurt, if you could go ahead and show the attendees. And it looks like we have a Mr. Robert Sweet with his hand raised. And I'm going to go ahead and allow him an opportunity to speak. I'm assuming Bill is Mr. Sweet, the applicant, or representative of the applicant?
Yeah.
I believe that's correct. We'll let him confirm that.
Okay, let me go ahead and open it up, open the floor to Mr. Sweet. Mr. Sweet, are you there?
I am. How are you doing?
We're doing well, thank you. Mr.
Thank you
Sweet,
very-
confirm that you were here at the beginning of our meeting and you were sworn in properly.
You are correct. I was sworn in properly. So
Thank you very much.
Very
Okay, go
cool.
ahead, you
Very
got the
cool.
floor.
I'm in the friendly confines of my home in Northern Kentucky, so don't hold that against me. So with that being said, my name is Rob Sweet. I'm with McBride Dale Clarion. My address is 5721 Dragon Way, Suite 300, Cincinnati, Ohio 45227. And I'm here tonight with Mr. Batista. He may or may not be online. I know we've been having some technical difficulties. And before I go any further, I just want to thank Mr. Barnett and Mr. Sealer, as well as Mr. Laser for helping us out. That we're in kind of a unique situation as part of our firm is helping your planning staff, and part of our firm is doing the development services. So it's kind of a unique situation. But with that being said, Mark has been having some technical difficulties and said, hey, since you're local, can you attend? I said, I would be pleased to. So again, Zips is here tonight requesting a variance to allow 5 additional incidental signs around the facility, or 4 different types of signs. If you look at that exhibit that Mr. Sealer brought up online, if you wouldn't mind bringing that up again, Kurt, that would be greatly appreciated. I can kind of walk you through what we're looking to do out here. It's pretty, you know, Zips has the opportunity to purchase this lot 4, and they look to construct a car wash. Car wash building is about 4,100 square feet, where we've got a pay station with some canopies there on the south end of the property, down there by that green arrow. And then we got 16 parking / vacuum spaces. And then we also got about 9 plus minus car stacking spaces with the ability to stack all the way up to that shared access drive. With that being said, we are asking for those signs, and I'll kind of run through, and hopefully I got this, and I apologize if I get these out of order. But we are looking at a menu sign, two menu signs, a membership sign, a lighted sign that tells our customers to stop and go, and then a thank you sign. And I apologize. I got a text from Mark, and I'm trying to see if he can get on. With that being said, let me go ahead and kind of run through what we're doing. So the membership sign, as you see highlighted on your screen in blue, that's approximately 30 square feet, and that's located along what we would call our entrance drive. And I hopefully am saying this correctly. We feel that this sign is important for our business. This Zips has a unique package, or it may not be unique depending on what your car wash of your pleasure is, but they own a similar situation as Mike. So you go in, you pay, you stay in your car, you go through the conveyor, and as you exit, you're still in your car. The driver has the option to turn left and then go back through to vacuum, or they've got the option to turn right. With that being said, and again, I didn't mean to deviate on that tangent, but as part of our sales package, we do offer memberships for our customers, and each customer can buy a membership package. They can go through as many times they want in a month, and it's sold that way. We've got about 45% of our business comes from membership packages. We want to make sure that our customers see these membership boards ahead of time, so they don't get to the kiosk and then all of a sudden try to make up their mind of what they're doing. In addition, the sign is about 225 feet away from Kings Mill Road. Kings Mill has a posted speed limit of about 45 miles an hour. And then on top of that, we also have, the sign is not illuminated. It's not intended to be viewed off-site, and it's really, with the landscaping, unviewable from the street. And Kurt, I don't know if I sent you over a landscape plan or not, but I can, if you need me to, I can email one to you here as we're sitting here. So that would be kind of the membership sign behind it. And then that would flow into what we have as our menu board. And this would function the same way that a Panera or a Starbucks or any other menu board would have. It advertises our specials and, what the customer needs to do to pay to get in on there. Again, these signs, the signs down here in green, are illuminated, and what they're there for, they're about 30 square feet in size, and again, they're just advertising the sale for our customers. The next set of signs that we are asking for is the Wash Complete sign, and this is about a 5 square foot sign that's just located outside of the building. And this is alerting the driver. This is where we get into that safety issue, and you've all been through a car wash before, I'm sure, but you've got 2 to 3 minutes to collect your thoughts. And whether that's I'm on the phone, or I'm on a conference call, or somebody's texting, or you've got a child in the back that's screaming the way that my little one used to do whenever I would go through the car wash, it would be the same kind of thing. And this is a lot alerting the driver to say, you know what, whenever that light is green, you put the car in drive, or you put the car in first gear, and then you can proceed through. That one is, again, 5 square feet. It's lighted, and it's there for the driver to identify that they're going. And again, this kind of works reciprocal, so there's no damage to the customer's vehicle as they're exiting either. So sometimes those conveyor belts stop, driver's unaware, the car will roll forward or roll back into the car wash, and we don't want that to happen. So again, that's what that Go Thank You sign is there for. The last sign that we have is the Wash Complete sign, and this is basically thanking the customer. This adds a visual aid to the drivers as they come out of there and exit. We're about 63 feet from the road right away, and again, this is non-illuminated. There's no, the backside or the side of it would be facing Kings Mill Road. It would not be visible from Kings Mill. But again, this is again another kind of safety, hey, are you paying attention type of deal as customers exit our site. We feel that this is compliant with the variance section. We feel that the 2 of the signs are essential for our business, given the sales. We also feel that the other 2 are kind of safety related and move signs and, gets vehicles and gets the drivers aware and attentive as they start their next line of maneuverability. These types of signs we don't feel is going to alter their surrounding character. There's a number of other areas out there with drive-throughs that have directional signage. I get it, ours are unique, but those are unique as well, where they've got, lighted cabinets, so on and so forth. These are along a primarily commercial corridor. The development, we meet all the other code restrictions. We are going for site plan review sometime in May. We've done everything. We've had some minor comments be returned. We've done everything. We've got the building to be designed the same way as the other developments in that shopping center. And then we don't feel that any delivery of the essential government services will be impacted by not only this development or the signage. With that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions and look forward to your decision.
can you just reiterate what the square footage, Mr. Square, of each of the signs again?
Sure. So the menu board sign, that would be the grid signs in green. Those are around 30 square foot apiece. The membership sign itself, which would be the sign in blue, that's around 30 square feet. The wash complete sign, which is the sign in red, as you have up there on your screen, those two cabinets are about 5 square feet total. And then the Mr. Zippy sign with him waving, that's about 18 square feet in area.
That's the purple one?
That is the purple one,
And what was that size again?
about 18 square feet.
18?
Mhm. Make sure. I
Have
do
you had
my
a chance
notes.
to speak with the city about their disposition on this and what their recommendations were to the board?
Fortunately, we did not have time to do that. I've been in conversation with our clients, and the green and the blue for certain are the signs that kind of drive our customer business. The sign in the red, that's important again for our safety issues. The sign in the purple, we can do some things to maybe get rid of the logo at the bottom. We can adjust the size of it, but that's really where we are at this point in time.
Okay, well, let me just I guess reiterate what the city had requested, and then maybe you can speak to your ability to modify what you might have presented here today to be more in compliance with what the city's recommendations were. And so what Bill had spoken to was that staff wanted to see the square footage of the thank you sign reduced, which I think you said you might be able to accommodate that. And then I'm not sure, Bill, the city had mentioned, you had mentioned the same color scheme. It didn't appear to me to be that the color scheme was different. So I'm not sure what specifically the city was referring to there. Can you speak to that, Bill?
Well, that's usually the recommendation we make in this situation where they have, the directional sign similar to it, that if they leave the logo off and use the same color scheme as the rest of their signage, that usually people, get the idea
Right, okay.
of what's going on.
Right.
But in this particular instance, possibility to put the signs that are highlighted in purple and red, again, maybe actually move them inside the last wash door before you exit the building, and potentially just, take those requests off the table altogether.
Mr. Sweet, is that something that you can accommodate? Can you pull those signs that are at the exit there into the building itself?
I don't think we can pull them into the building. What I think we can do is we could possibly make the Zippy sign, remove the logo off the Mr. Zippy sign and bring that down in square footage. And then we could eliminate the stop and go sign if necessary.
Okay. Well, you might want to hold that thought, because I'll just kind of give you a flavor of where I'm at on this before we have the audience feedback. But with what's presented, with what you presented here tonight, I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of it.
Okay.
See some accommodations from yourself and your client to try to be more in line with the our sign code regulations here. So I think from my perspective, I would really appreciate maybe having a little more clarity and detail of exactly what kind of changes you might be able to make this more consistent with what staff recommendation was by the city. But I want to open it up to other board members to see if there's any other questions that any of the other board members might have of yourself before we move on.
Did you hear what they were saying?
So,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
one question that I had is, and this might have already been covered. I just want to make sure I understand. So, in our packet, there was a sign that was like 6 feet by 12 feet. But that's not on the PowerPoint, or the figure that's on Kurt's screen. Is that correct? Is that not subject to the variance request?
The main sign was not subject to the variance request.
Okay.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
Okay, so the freestanding sign was not subject to the variance request. That one meets the code requirements. So that would be the sign that would be out here along Kings Mill, right there you go. So that is 4 by 12.
And that's all in compliance, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the board members?
Bill, I do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I meant Chris, but
Go ahead, Bernie.
sure. If the applicant could just clarify for me, which of the signs are illuminated and which ones are double faced? So what I'm driving at is which ones can you see from the street, whether or not you use binoculars? Is there signage visible from the street on any of these?
There we go. So the sign in purple the back of that sign would face the street. Actually, I apologize. That would not face the street. None of them are double faced. So we'll start there. The signs in green, which would be the pay station signs, those would be the only signs that would be illuminated.
Mr. Sweet, can you see
Yes.
our screen?
Yes. Okay, here we go. Sign A is single-sided. Sign B is single-sided. Sign C is single-sided. Sign D is single-sided. Sign C is illuminated. Sign A has illuminated buttons. Other than that, the rest of the signs are all single-faced and are non-illuminated. So B and D are, I want to make sure I said that correctly. D is illuminated, C is not illuminated. And D is the pay station sign.
So is D the
Okay, thank you.
is D the green?
Yes,
Gotcha. So D is illuminated, right?
correct. That's the one that's all the way down by the entrance kiosk.
Correct. And C, which was identified in blue, right?
Correct.
That was not illuminated.
That is not illuminated.
Okay.
That's single faced. And that, again, that's 220 plus odd feet away from the right of way. And that's intended to be solely seen by the customers on site only.
Bernie, any other questions?
Do the vacuum stations have signage?
They do not. And the vacuum components are placed to the rear of the site, and those are also screened with landscaping.
Okay, thank you.
James, Deb, any questions of the applicant?
I have a question. Is there, when you pay, is there a kiosk or are you paying a human being?
I believe it's a kiosk. I believe you insert a credit card and pay that way.
And that will have obviously this sign C, that information on there.
That is correct.
I think isn't it sign D that's at the pay station?
Yes, sign D, I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other questions, James?
No, I'm good.
Deb, any questions of the applicant?
No additional questions, no.
Okay. Okay. Rob, we appreciate your presentation. Thank you. And we'll probably have to come
I
back after
apologize
we,
for further confusions.
No, you're fine. We'll probably come back after we have those who might want to speak in favor for or against. We might have some additional questions for you. So if you could just hang tight.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any members of that are in the audience who'd like to speak in favor for this variance? All right, I'm not seeing anyone raise their hands. So I'd like to go ahead and give the same opportunity for any of those who might want to speak in opposition to this variance. Okay, seeing no hands raised, we'll close the public comment period and open it up for board discussion. And Mr. Sweet, if we're going to go ahead and unmute you because I think there's probably going to be some dialogue between the board and yourself as we have this. So again, going back to what the staff recommendation was, first being seeing the thank you signage, square footage reduced without a logo. There was also some mention of the membership signage being eliminated to reduce the need for that request. What are your thoughts on those the staff recommendations? To accommodate and what you might not be able to accommodate?
The membership sign is one that Zips wants to have. If we would be open to removing the thank you sign before moving the membership sign. And again, part of that is based on giving our customers ample amount of time to make a decision to buy a membership package before they get to the kiosk.
Okay, and that's the sign in blue, correct?
That is correct.
And that doesn't currently have your logo on it, does it?
It doesn't. The only thing it has is it's got our Mr. Zippy guy embedded in one of the advertisements.
Right. What about the menu board signs at the pay station? That has your logo on it. Is there any way to reduce the square footage of those and eliminate the logo? So that they would be, still has your brand, it still has the Mr. Zippy on it, has your brand there.
Let me check. Yes, we can. So we can remove that logo on there.
That would be on
D.
D.
So that would bring it from, let's say 90 inches down to, don't know how that's in front of me, but it would bring it down to whatever that would come out to be.
It looks like the height is 96 right now, so.
Yeah, take out the 6 for the ground clearance because that's going all the way down to the bottom. And so I think if we can remove the logo, that would take it
it's
down
probably somewhere between 6 to 12 inches, I would think.
Yeah. So probably a little, yeah.
Well, Kurt, you may have drawn the line a little bit lower. I was thinking, where the zips above it is. Mr. Sweet, what were you thinking? Were you going all the way down?
I was thinking
to
the same thing. Right where that pen is. That's where I was thinking.
Yeah.
So right between Mr. Zippy
as well.
Yep.
So it's a little bit higher than that, Kurt. It's right above his head. There you go, right there. So that's, I don't know, that's probably 6 to 12.
Let's call it 8 inches for the heck of it.
Yeah, call it 8 inches, right?
So that gets us to 90. You figure you take the 6 out for the ground clearance. That takes us to 90. We're now at 82 by 47.
If I may interject a thought, isn't the height an issue of total height, regardless of what the panel is? It's the distance from the ground to the top of the sign.
Yeah, I think that's true, Bernie. I think what Mr. Sweet was doing was just calculating what the actual square footage of the sign was.
Right, I think we need to
That's the
take into
ground, but I think-
account the height of the sign to the top from the ground.
I don't, Bill, is that how the square footage is calculated? Or is it the actual face itself?
The square footage is calculated based on the dimension of the sign itself, and the height is actually measured from the ground to the top of the
Right.
sign.
That was my
Right,
mistake.
I'm speaking specifically about the height portion. We want to make sure we're using the correct dimensions when we talk about height versus square footage.
Right. So yeah, it's actually measured from grade, not the bottom of the sign. If it does stick up grade a little bit.
Right. And Mr. Sweet, you said in terms of the at the exit of the car wash, what were you willing to do there to try to accommodate some of the feedback from the city?
So we could remove the logo off of the purple sign, or we could remove that, or we could remove the lighted stop and go sign.
Is that, let me ask you, is that purple sign absolutely necessary?
It's not totally necessary. So we could put some form of, let's say, maybe, exit one way, vacuums the other.
Let me, while we're having this conversation, let me just, I guess, reach out to my fellow board members in terms of what their thoughts are on this exit sign. So it's a pretty big sign where it says you have a great look. I mean, it's got a big logo on it. It's a pretty big sign. What's everybody's thoughts on this sign? I just want to get the reaction of our board, of my fellow board members.
I would just say at least the stop or the yellow and green sign is probably, you probably need that. Because anytime I go through a car wash, I'm paying attention to that. So, the exit sign, I don't know how much that matters, but that I would think that go and yellow sign matters.
James, for what it's worth, I totally agree with you. I mean, I would,
All right.
Mr. Sweet, this is Chris Calpin. I would. Go ahead, Bill.
Can we will eliminate sign B, which is Zippy.
Okay. Perfect.
So we can eliminate.
I personally don't see any need for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't either. I agree, Deb.
So we can eliminate B if we can have A, and we can do the reduction on D.
Okay. I feel a lot more comfortable with this, with those modifications. So let me just open it up for my fellow board members. What's everybody's feelings with the changes that Mr. Sweet just described, which I believe is removing the logo on sign D, which is that's at the pay station. So there's actually two sign Ds. So we're actually reducing the size of two signs there, correct?
Correct.
And then we'll eliminate sign B, which is the purple one at the exit, and allow all the others to remain as presented. How does everybody feel about that?
Yeah, I feel better about that for sure, Chris.
Bernie, Deb, Chris, any thoughts?
I'll jump in here. I'm fine with the wait and go sign. I'm fine with eliminating the thank you sign. I'm fine with the menu boards with the reduced size. I think the one that I'm still on the fence about is the membership sign. And I understand that there's some value in presenting the information before people are right at the menu board. I'm not particularly enamored with the height of it, the overall size. We just don't want to set a precedent where too many people are asking for signs that are outside the code unless there's very, very good reason. You know, we would be eliminating a number of the signs, which would help with the total square footage. I'm a little, I mean, it's on the plus side, the distance from Kings Mills Road to where the membership sign is proposed, it's quite a distance and you're not going to see it from Kings Mill. You would conceivably see it when you're on the neighboring parcels or pulling into the car wash. Of course, that's the purpose. When you're pulling into the car wash, you want to see the membership sign. I realize it's important to them, so I wouldn't be totally opposed to accepting some compromise on the membership sign.
What kind of compromise, Bernie, would you be looking at? Just reducing the size of it?
I thought if we can go back to the image of it.
We're talking about the blue sign on the PowerPoint. Yes.
Yes, that one. Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't see any content I would necessarily eliminate. I mean, the height of it is still very tall, and I think that might be what I'm objecting to mostly. It's pretty close to 8 feet. Might even be taller if you figure whatever post might be in the ground. So anyway, I mean, is it possible to reduce the size of the sign proportionally so that you're, you know, maybe 6 feet as opposed to 8 feet?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be probably 8 feet from the ground. If you figure the post is 6 or 12 inches, you're definitely talking 8 feet plus. Mr. Sweet, is there anything that you can do to reduce the size of that?
I'm checking with our group now. It may be possible. Can we get it to 7 feet?
7 feet off the ground?
Yeah.
Bernie, how do you feel about that? That'd be almost a foot.
Yeah, I think any reduction would be welcomed. Yeah, I mean, I could deal with that as a compromise.
Mr. Sweet, can you do that? Limit it to no higher than 7 feet from the ground?
We can do that.
Okay. Bernie, are there any other concerns that you'd like to raise?
No, everything else as discussed is fine.
Okay. And Deb or Chris, any other comments or concerns you'd like to have addressed?
No, I think, you know, especially with the reduction of the membership sign and, you know, all of the, you know, compromises that the applicant has been willing to make, you know, I feel a lot more comfortable about this variance request.
Yeah, I agree with that. I know every business comes in wanting, you know, as big and as many signs as will possibly allow them, and certainly understand that. However, there's an awful lot going on visually on all of these signs. I think fortunately they're far enough apart. Otherwise, they're just, you know, it just, to me, if there's a lot of overstimulation with all this stuff going on each of these individual boards. But I think the fact that the applicant has been willing to compromise and so readily compromise, I think I would be in favor of where we're at this point.
Okay, so let me try to recap where we're at and see if we're on the same page. So I believe what I've heard Mr. Sweet say is that they're willing to remove the logo on sign D. And I believe sign D is the blue sign, correct?
No, sign D is the menu boards.
Right, the
Green.
is the, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, exactly. I apologize. Yeah, that was the green sign. So Kurt, I think you had actually had a little graphic that showed where we were looking at there, but yeah, so we were talking about taking sign D, which is the green signs, which there are two of them, removing the logo right there where Kurt is showing the red line. And then the purple exit sign, which is sign B, we would eliminate that altogether. And then sign C, which is the membership sign, which is the blue sign, we would limit that to a height of no more than 7 feet off of the ground surface. Is that everybody else's understanding?
Yep.
Mr. Sweet, is that your understanding as well?
That is our understanding as well.
Okay, so then with that being said, I would entertain a motion along those lines.
I'll make a motion that we approve PLN 20-0028 with the following modifications. The logo on sign D will be removed. Membership sign C will have a maximum height off the ground of 7 feet. And sign B, the thank you sign, will be eliminated altogether.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
That's it.
And Bill, when you're ready.
Is that James a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Mrs. Frankie,
Yes.
Mrs. Khan,
Yes.
Mr. Woolfolk,
Yes.
Mr. Kalpin,
Yes.
Mr. Kiesling.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Sweet, your variance has been granted.
Thank you very much, everybody. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time tonight, and you'll be receiving some paperwork from the city here in the near future.
Sounds good. Y'all have a great evening.
Likewise, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go back to our agenda again. And we have our last variance is a setback variance. It's at 4232 Maxwell Drive. The zoning is R1. It's requested for a reduced side yard setback for a new detached garage. It's requested by Jennifer Rodway, who's the owner, in care of the Valerie Blazer from Timber Group. I don't know, there's a question mark there, Bill. I'm not sure what that was all about. And it's case number PLN 20-30. Bill?
Thank you. Like you said, Ian and Jen Rodway at 4232 Maxwell Drive, in conjunction with Valerie Blesser, are requesting a variance for reduced side yard setback for a detached garage. The property is zoned R1, which requires a 25-foot side yard setback for accessory structures. And the property is located in the estate section of Heritage Club and lots that were replatted in 2003. The lot line in question for this particular project was moved to the south approximately 15 feet from its previous location to its current location. It was moved about 15 to 20 feet. And the applicant is requesting a variance to construct a 1,893 square foot detached garage that would be located about 15 feet from the side property line. And actually, staff would just like to see the garage either moved an additional 10 feet to the north to comply with the 25-foot setback, or possibly have it attached with a roof so it could remain at the proposed 15-foot to comply with the setbacks for the principal structure.
Thank you, Bill. And thank you, Kurt. Is the applicant in the audience? If you are, just go ahead and raise your hand. All right, looks like we have a Mr. Ian Rodway. Mr. Rodway, I'm going to go ahead and allow you the opportunity to speak. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can, thank you. Let me just, before you start, Mr. Rodway, can I just ask, were you in attendance at the beginning of the session? Were you sworn in properly?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're asking to build the garage. I collect cars and need more space. Two of my three direct neighbors.
Mr. Rodway, could you just do me a favor? Can you state
Yes.
your name and address for the
Oh,
record?
sorry. Ian Rodway, 4232 Maxwell Drive, Mason, Ohio.
Thank you.
So yes, I was wanting to build a detached garage for car storage. Two of my three direct neighbors have detached garages. We designed the garage based on the HOA and design review committee standards, which said 15 feet. And it was dictated by the site conditions. There's a grade that drops off beyond the site toward what you see there marked as pool that is pretty significant. And it also would abut the existing concrete. To make the garage smaller in size would not be worth it because I wouldn't have enough space to store cars to make it worth building. So again, we'd have been designed to the HOA specifications. It was approved by our HOA and design review committee. And then as we were going to Mason and getting the permits is when we discovered the 25-foot issue.
Mr. Rodway, have you had a chance to speak with the city about their disposition on this and what the recommendations were?
I spoke to Bill briefly when he was here to take the video and saying that it could be connected with a roof and remain in the same spot or ask for the variance to do it without the connecting roof, as I understood it.
Bill, is that consistent?
That would be accurate.
Mr. Rodway, can you go ahead and speak to your what your thoughts are on what the city might be recommending?
I guess I'm not sure what you're asking, sir.
So if there's a way to obviate the variance by attaching it versus having it be a detached accessory structure, and that conversation occurred after you submitted your application, is that something that you'd be willing to entertain or not?
Willing to entertain. Our concerns were they would be forced into design. We'd probably have to remove 2 mature trees, and some concern that it would block natural light into the house through the back windows and door. But it's certainly something that could be entertained.
Okay. Any members of the audience, or I'm sorry, of the board, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Also, my builder's on at their feet for technical questions.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, I have a question. Actually, it's for Mr. Barnett. Is there an issue with the house in relation to the property line? It doesn't seem to be 25 feet from the corner of the house to the property line.
The house itself in the R1 zone, the principal structure, there's a 15-foot minimum side yard setback and a 50-foot total. So in English, you have to have at least 15 feet on one side and 35 on the other side to make up that 50 feet total. That's required for the principal structure. So I mean, it is, as far as I can tell, it looks like it meets that on that same side.
Okay, so the rules for a accessory structure are different. That requires the 25-foot.
That is correct.
Okay, I understand now. One other consideration on the design is a portion of the structure as designed appears to be like a covered patio. has the applicant considered making the patio smaller so that the garage can basically be shifted to the north?
I'm
some
not
amount
sure
of-
if I'm still on, but that's where the drop off is. So the garage would end on the flat spot basically, and then the grade drops off. So there would be a significant height difference of that lower patio. And that was built, it does not, as the picture shows there, the actual the patio would be lower.
Okay, I understand now. Thank you.
Yeah, there would be steps built in then to the patio, and it's a significant grade. Right
Okay,
there at the
yeah,
edge of the structure.
that clarifies it for me. Thank you. Oh, actually, did you ask your neighbor on the south if they were for or against your proposed garage?
We had a neighbor discussion about a week ago, and I'm not sure what his final decision was. I had heard that he was not going to come out against it, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
On this
I
map,
know they had a lot of questions about the placement and the measuring and the rules and whatnot.
yeah, thanks, Kurt. Thanks for bringing that up. I was just going to ask you to maybe show that video again so we can have a better sense of exactly what's there.
So the structure would start at the basketball pole and go north from there.
And Kurt, can you swing that video around so we can see like where the neighboring property is? You might have to go the other way. There you go.
Does that help? You want to?
Yes, thank you.
Keep
No,
going or
we're
go
good,
back?
thanks. No, you're fine, thanks. Are there any other questions of the applicant from the board? James? Deb, Chris, anything?
No.
No.
Okay. Mr. Rodway, thank you. We appreciate your presentation. Let me go ahead and ask, are there any members who are in attendance who would like to speak in favor of this variance? All right, I see a Mr. Horstmeyer. So Mr. Horstmeyer, we're going to go ahead and give you the floor. Go ahead.
Yes, I am the builder of the garage for Mr. Rodway, and we appreciate your time tonight. The site is a little bit unique that the side yard, actually the side property line angles. The further you go back in the backyard, it gets smaller, which is not abnormal, but that's kind of why the garage is tucked as close as we can to match up with the other garage from the existing house, because there's existing concrete there, so that basically it could be used without doing a great deal of site work to kick it over to the south side. In our experience, the HOA typically HOA rules delegate offsets and whatnot, and those, in our experience, have been more stringent than the county and or city zoning rules, and that's why that's where we went first with this design, and we found out after we submitted for permit that this issue had come up. So that's why we are asking for this variance, because due to site conditions, there's plenty of room to the south, but it doesn't work for a garage. If it were a pole barn, a pool house, nothing having to do with vehicles, it would be doable. But the further you go to the south, it doesn't work for vehicles, and that's kind of the point of the garage.
So this does the HOA requirements?
Oh, I'm sorry, I went the wrong way. The further you go
Yeah,
to the north.
I thought you were going, I knew what you meant. But this
Sorry
this does comply with the HOA requirements?
I don't know if I'm still on, but I have been approved by both the HOA and our design review committee. Yes, I have an approval letter.
Yes, and we first submitted to them because that's the first step. And then we got their approval, then we submitted plans to the building department. And that's when this issue came about. And
Okay.
I got a question for Mr. Horstmeyer. What's your thoughts on trying to attach that garage to the house?
it is possible with like a breezeway type connection, but
Yeah.
you can kind of see where that red line going east-west. There are 2 trees there that we were intending to keep, and there's existing steps down to the lower area because that grade goes down quite a bit. Our intention was to keep that, and it would that would all have to be redesigned and add cost and potentially block light into the lower level and the first level of the existing house.
Any other questions, James?
No, that's it.
Okay, any other, I'm sorry, what it was Mr. Horstmeyer, right? Mr. Horstmeyer, any other comments or items you'd like to point out to us?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in attendance who would like to speak in favor of this variance? Okay, seeing none, I'll give the same opportunity for anyone who might be opposed to this variance. Looks like we have a Mr. Behrens, Brian Behrens. Mr. Behrens, I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, hi, my name is Brian Behrens. I live at 4329 Meadowbrook Lane. And I just want to thank the City of Mason for informing us of the application and for Mr. Barnett for taking the time to speak with us by telephone last week.
Mr. Behrens, can you just give us an understanding in terms of where you live? Where is that in location to this property?
The very next thing I was going to say, 4329 Meadowbrook Lane is actually the development behind to the east of Dr. Rodway's home, and we share a somewhat common lot line. If you look at the actual, we're in plat 1131505, directly behind the creek.
Kurt, can you pull up the, there you go, that one. Mr. Behrens,
our house,
can you see the
when
graphic?
you're looking, I can. When you look at where we are, basically we're right next to our lot line is right behind the DRH symbol on the right side of the screen. That is where our house is located, or where the edge of our lot is.
Okay, gotcha.
And the reason why, and I really appreciate you guys letting us know. I understand that we don't actually, because of the common area and the creek that fills the area behind the house, that we don't actually have probably too much zoning opportunity to say anything about this. But this is directly, he is the request, the applicant, I want to be polite about this. The applicant is requesting to put a 2,000 square foot garage or a structure directly between our houses. And that is kind of something, I know his neighbors have detached garages, but they are offset by lakes and the odd way that these property lines are lined up. This one particularly, I have a bit of a problem with, only because of its size. And that, in my opinion, lowers the value. It's a beautiful 8,000 square foot house with a 4-car garage that I have to only see in the wintertime. But putting that size of a structure between our houses will make it definitely visible during the summer and will absolutely make that visible during the winter. It is quite a large structure and potentially could lower the value. We bought this property when this development was first built because we did not have visible houses necessarily directly behind us. They were easily visible. And putting this size of a structure between our houses would change that, in my opinion. One other thing that I wanted to bring up, and it looks like it has the tree line marked on there. The homeowners association over here in Arbor Creek has always been a bit ambiguous with the city as to where the actual lot lines end in relation to the creek. We were told some things when we initially purchased the house about lot lines or lot edges in relation to the creek, and I'm a little curious about where his lot line actually ends and where our lot line ends in relation to the creek that is between the houses. So that is the gist. I'm just not in favor of it because of the size of the structure, unfortunately, being directly behind my house.
Mr. Behrens, thanks for your comments, but let me also just, I guess, shed some additional light on this in terms of the size of the structure and the realization that if the applicant would connect this proposed garage to the existing house, we wouldn't be necessarily having this conversation. A variance wouldn't even be needed. You understand that, right?
I do. I absolutely do.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your comments. We appreciate them.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Kurt, if you can let me see the list again. Folks, thank you. Let me go ahead and ask, are there any other members who are in attendance who would like to speak in opposition? It looks like we have another one, Mr. Daniel Millisor. It looks like I'm not able to promote that person. Kurt, I don't know if there's an audio problem.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look like they're hooked up to audio.
Mr. Millisor, is there any way for you to hook up to audio so that we can get your testimony?
We could try to promote to panelist.
You want me to try to do that?
Yeah.
I just promoted him to a panelist. Looks like we have Mr. Millisor.
Okay, does that work?
Yep, there you go.
I'm very sorry. I am not very used to Zoom meetings. I'm here with Mr. Martin, and it's our first Zoom meeting. So thanks for
Mr. Millisor, before you start, let me just ask you, were you in attendance at the beginning of the meeting and were you properly sworn in?
Yes, sir, I was.
Perfect, thank you.
And as I said, I don't know, Mr. Martin's here with me because we're both trying to learn how to use this technology. And so he may or may not want to talk afterwards, but I'll tell you that. So I live at 4236 Maxwell Drive. I'm on the private drive with the Rodways, McGee's, and Martins, and one of the where the proposed structure is. I guess it's to the south. Is that probably right?
You're the property directly to the south?
Hang on.
Yeah, I can share my screen. 1 second here. Okay.
What are you for another screen where I'm at? Oh no, they're doing that. Okay.
Can you see this?
Yes.
This is the subject property, and I believe you're here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. We got it.
We were I'm just gonna. I didn't even know exactly how this goes, so I wrote a little something that will explain where my thoughts are on the night. We were the last original owners to buy on that private driveway. And when we got there, all the other houses were completed and built at the time of the purchase. And to help you a little bit with the context of where I'm coming from, I tell you, we moved into the house in 2005. and we lived there for about 15 years. We moved here from an expat assignment from England. And while we were over there, we had 2 houses that were outside of London and had about 3+ acres. What we found was that we really enjoyed having the open feel of the neighborhood. And so when we got called back, we asked our real estate agent, Diane, to find us a home with a similar kind of feel and some space for gardening and still a community where we could have interactions with our neighbors. Diane showed us homes all around town. And once she got a feel for what we were looking for, she brought us to the estates part of Heritage. We looked at other parts of Heritage and Long Cove even with similar houses, and really helped us confirm that what we were looking for was the open space and the neighborhood feel that we got from the estates. During the process of the purchase, Diane and our builder assured us the property lot sizes were laid out, zoned, and had neighborhood design and conveyances that would allow the estate properties to make room for whatever they wanted to do on our individual properties. But then we would also be able to maintain the feel of the community as the developers and the builders intended. So when I was talking to Mr. Barrett, he said, why don't you make sure you talk a little bit about at the meeting how the proposed building would affect us. So I'll offer 4 different perspectives. One, as you come up our house, you can see the driveway on the picture they showed. Our driveway comes straight in, and as you look, you'll see the drive points to the proposed garage structure. So I'd obviously see it every day as we come out of our drive. 2 is at the end of our drive on the back side of our house is a sunroom that has floor-to-ceiling windows on all 3 exterior sides of the room, with ones in the back looking out on our woods and the Rodway's rear yard and home, including the area of the proposed construction. We use this room every day for general purposes, and then we gather there for family celebrations and entertainment and do small group meetings in there from time to time. Then, as I mentioned, 3, I do gardening, and so I'm often out in the yard. And when I'm in the back, obviously, I'll see anything that is built on the property. And then the 4th thing is that while we're not planning to move anytime soon, we did call our real estate agent and ask her perspective. And her comment was that, of course, it would depend on a particular buyer, but her opinion was that anything that relaxed the zoning standard of the neighborhood would have some kind of a negative impact on our property value. And so in summary, kind of with all these perspectives in mind, it's our request that the current setback standards be kept as they are now. A year or so ago, Ian presented his idea to me and asked me to sell him some of my property to help with the setback issue. I told him I really didn't want to sell anything. But I also told him that I really do believe and respect their rights to put anything on their property as long as it meets the zoning and HOA standards. And so, as Ian mentioned earlier, the guys that live back on this private driveway did have a meeting last week to understand the proposal. And I'm really convinced that Ian is very sincere about making sure it does meet the neighborhood standards. But my request tonight is that as the community holds the zoning provisions that the developers established and that we all bought into when we purchased our respective properties. And I really believe the precedent we set here should be for not only this purpose or project rather, but for the community as a whole, as other projects and exceptions are going to be requested. And so, thank you for listening. It's been an informative way for me to learn about how this process works. I thank Mr. Barnett for helping us navigate through the process. And I thank Ian for showing us last week on, how it was going to look. And so I would tell you, the only other thing I'd add is Mr. Barnett mentioned the breezeway addition. If it really is 35 feet on the other side of the house between the south way, then I don't know that we really need to be talking. But you know, if it's up to them. So anyway, I don't know if anybody's measured that distance. I can't tell from the papers that we were given if the front left corner of their house is 35 feet from McGee's property line or not. And if it is, you know, I don't think they ought to have to build a breezeway just to do that. I guess what I'm really trying to do is make sure we get what we were promised when we bought the house, and that they get to do what they want to do as long as it fits within the zoning and neighborhood standards. So we've always had a great neighborhood relationship on the street. Don't want to impact that in a negative way at all, but want to make sure that we do what's right for the neighborhood and for, you know, my own property as well.
Mr. Millisori, appreciate your comments. And Bill, is there any way that you can speak to, you know, what is the setback on the north property line?
In all honesty, without putting a scale on it, it appears to comply, but yeah, again, I don't know exactly, you know, if that is indeed the 35 feet from the front left corner over to the side property line.
I mean, Kurt's got it pulled up right now. And Kurt, can you highlight the corner of the property and then the property line, the straight line that we'd be, that we're.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, real quick, this is 30-foot sanitary sewer easement on this side of the property. So that's at least 30 feet right there.
Yeah, so it's more
And
than
then-
35.
Yeah, and then this is shown as the 15, and that's probably, you know, 5 feet. So it could be 20 and 30. Like Bill said, it just has to add up to 50. So it doesn't necessarily have to be 15 and 35. It could be 20 and 30 or at least that. So,
But it looks, just based upon what you were pointing out there, Kurt,
Right.
like it's in compliance.
yeah, and that's a 30-foot total easement. So that's 15 feet. And then if that's maybe another 10, so that may be 25 on that side. And it could be 25 on this side as well.
Right.
So.
Well, excuse me. So just so can you still hear me?
We can hear you.
So it's the way I understand it, once you attach the garage, you're now 15 feet on one side, right? On the south side, right? So you need 35 feet from the front left corner to the property line.
That's correct. And if Kurt, if you scroll down, I think what Mr. Seiler was pointing out is that line that you see parallel to the property line that's highlighted in purple, that's 30 feet. That's a 30-foot easement, sanitary easement. And the corner of the property of the house, if you can highlight the corner, Kurt.
Yeah, so
the measurement would be taken from.
Real quick, Chris, I think this may be the 30. And so I may have incorrectly spoke.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It looks like the sanitary sewer is on the property line. And so.
Gotcha. So it straddles the property line is what you're saying.
So
Gotcha.
from
Okay.
the property line over maybe 15, but we'd have to check that, but. You see what I'm saying?
Yep, I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'd be close.
It'd be close. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be close. Okay, well, Mr. Millisori, we appreciate your comments.
Thank you. And thanks for letting me have a chance to talk.
Absolutely. And I think you had also someone that was with you. Are they interested in also having any testimony?
Yes, sir. Denny's here.
Yeah, I called in this morning, Dennis Martin, 422 Maxwell.
And where is your property in relationship to this property?
Right across the street, across
Okay.
the private road.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Is it right here?
My concern has been I have not received anything from an HOA telling me what is going to happen or anything at all. What I understand that people have talked to the HOA. I don't know why the HOA is doing that when in the past, when you see my place, which was the first place built back in the estate section, and then you go next to me, which belongs to Mr. McGee, We were both told at the HOA when it was started, the building company, that we had to have the garages attached to the house. That's why we have breezeways. Okay?
Gotcha.
And that's the other concern. I think it's going to be an interesting addition. Several of the things that I know we're starting to talk about as far as some of the materials that's going to be in, such as aluminum shingles, or not aluminum shingles, but roofing is going to be of a metal nature, and that's never been back there before.
Probably.
Mr. Martin, are you there?
Hello?
Yep, we got you. Go ahead.
Okay, that's it. Mike, that's my concern. And I have nothing from the HOA telling me that breezeways are not allowed or whatever. To me, it's a way of making it stay instead of a freestanding building.
Okay, but just understand that, the zoning board is looking at it from the zoning requirements that the city has. And so that's how we're evaluating this. And, based upon that evaluation, or I should say the zoning code that's in place, that's what we base our variance on. So if there are specifics that your HOA needs to approve or allow, that's something that you'd have to take up with them. We wouldn't be able to speak on their behalf.
Okay,
Right?
thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, thanks, Mr. Martin. We appreciate your testimony. Okay, let me ask Mr. Millisor, I appreciate your information and testimony as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. So let me ask, are there any other members in attendance who would like to speak in opposition to this variance? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public comment period and open it up for board discussion. And Kurt, I was going to try to, I guess, demote Mr. Millis back to an attendee versus a panelist. Is there a way I can do that?
Yeah, I think we may need to remove him. Actually, let me see.
Oh, no, don't do that.
We'll
just
just
get
mute
the
you.
good part, right?
We'll mute you for now, and if you behave, you'll be all right.
Okay, well,
Oh, he just left on his own. I didn't do that.
well, hopefully he'll call back in.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep,
well,
looks like he's on there.
so let's go ahead and open it up for board discussion then, and we'll close the public comment period. So, yeah, this is one of those situations that I think we've had similar types of requests in the past where, and there wasn't one that long ago where, if a breezeway were to be added, it wouldn't necessarily need a variance, assuming that in this particular case that the total setback to both the north and the south is in compliance. So you're almost then putting an even larger structure out there and not necessarily having the desired effect. But, I still look at this and I say to myself that I think there might still be ways to obviate the need for the variance. So I'm not sure if I'm fully in favor of what's being presented here tonight. But that's just, my opinion, one member of a 5-member board. So I would entertain hearing from my other board members, their thoughts and opinions on this.
Can we see the video again, please?
Yep, sure. Just give me a second. Okay. You want me to play it, the whole thing from the beginning?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
The way I see the video and the site plan, it seems to show that the basketball pole is the corner of the proposed garage. Is that correct?
Basketball
The
pole is
applicant that,
right here.
Bernie?
So the basketball
Get that question?
pole is right here.
My question was if the basketball pole, as it's in the video, is that where the corner of the proposed garage will be, looking at the site plan?
Let me unmute Mr. Horstmeyer. Maybe he can respond to that. Mr. Horstmeyer, are you available?
Yes, can you hear me?
Can you answer that question?
Yes, the basketball hoop is the south side of the new garage.
And is the
southwest
pool,
corner?
Correct.
is the pool existing or is that going to be built new?
That will be built as well at the same time as the garage.
And so I asked the question earlier and maybe I misunderstood the answer when I asked if the garage can be shifted to the north, either by making the patio smaller or affecting the patio and the pool. And the answer was something about a grade change, and I'm not seeing exactly where the grade falls off.
It's hard to see, but if you the front tires of that blue car, once you go off that concrete, it goes downhill. And if you look at the play set, that's a 2-story play set per se. And you can only see half of the play set because that's the hillside going down off to the right. So the idea was to use those 2 garage doors on the existing concrete patio. If we go further over, to be able to pull into the garage door or anything, you would actually basically blocking the house itself. The house itself kind of gets in the way of the garage doors, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
And then that pushes. So it's really not a issue of the patio itself. It's the issue of the grade going downhill. It kind of goes downhill probably 6 to 7 feet, levels out briefly, and then goes back uphill towards that white fence off to the north.
Okay. Yes, I understand more clearly now. Thank you.
And since Mr. Rodway's garage is a 4-car garage, we're basically kind of trying to line up with the 2-car garage aspect closest to the existing house. So we're about as far away as we can get from the neighbor to the south. But if we go another 10 feet, it just pushes us over that hill, and it just doesn't work with the plan as it's drawn now.
Right. Was there any consideration given to changing the orientation of the structure so that the garage doors are on the south side as opposed to on the west side? Does that buy you anything if you enter from the south?
With not really, because with that angle, the property line angling, getting smaller as you go back towards the back of the property line, to have enough room to be able to pull into the garage. Even though I know you can put a driveway right close to the property line, it doesn't work. The garage would actually have to shift even further towards the north for that to happen, to have enough room to be able to pull into a garage from the south side. And I think that would be a less attractive thing to look at for the neighbor, looking at concrete and garage doors instead of a nice brick structure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not trying to redesign your project at this point. I'm just trying to ask if there are, in fact, other possible solutions.
Correct. I got you.
Because it seems to me that if you were to enter from the south side, if you were to push the garage to the north by some distance, what you would do is, you'd have some grade issues to deal with. You'd probably a lot of fill, and then you'd be losing some of that covered patio in between the pool and the garage. But I mean, there are possible solutions, though they're not as elegant as the one that's been originally proposed. I'm just bringing that to the attention of the board members. If you feel that there are other solutions, maybe there are, that's one reason to maybe vote down a variance. So anyway, they're just food for thought.
Thanks, Bernie. Any other comments or questions?
I don't think I have any more at this point.
Okay.
Would landscape have any value if the visual part of it is a concern? I don't know who that question would be for, but seem like maybe, I don't know if that's a solution or not.
And we certainly plan landscaping. We do a lot of landscaping as it is now. And as part of this project will be landscaping of the new building and the pool.
Sure.
Deb, Chris, any thoughts, comments?
I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly. So the garage, so if it were moved up 10 feet, then the issue is because of the drop off where the covered fireplace is to the pool. So that wouldn't be able to be level with the garage. Is that correct?
Correct. And the garage door itself, you would have to take out 2 mature trees and fill and structurally hold up that concrete so that you could actually pull into that garage door next to that 3-foot man door. So we're trying to fit it within the realms of the HOA as far as we can get off the property line and still fit the existing structure without tearing out a bunch of existing landscaping, trees, etc., and doing a lot of extra concrete structural necessity to build it, and trying to pull in and not hit the house and be able to pull into the garage door would be kind of difficult.
Okay.
Chris, any other thoughts on your end before we move to Deb?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Deb?
And I know you brought up earlier that we had a similar kind of situation, and there was a discussion at that point of obviating the variance by attaching it. Attaching could simply be some kind of roof attachment. Is that correct? It doesn't have to have sides. Can it just be some kind of even pergola type roofing, or does it have to be an enclosed roof? What defines attached?
Go ahead, Bill.
In this situation, I think when they make the roof match, whether it be roofing materials and or, overall roof pitch. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we've been looking for. So that's exactly what they did to the property to the north with their garage. They attached it with just a roof structure. The shingles match. It kind of blends in, pretty well with the rest of the house. And a lot of times that's what we see done, more so than just an open type or a trellis type structure connecting the two. We've been hoping that they use a roof that looks just like what they have on the house and just kind of carry it all the way across to the proposed structure.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be enclosed on the sides. It just has to be attached on the roof.
That's correct.
Any other questions, Deb, or thoughts?
Well, I guess my thoughts would be, I mean, obviously that's a reworking. And maybe Bernie can speak to this better than me. Just by looking at the current plans, if they have to have a roof structure that matches the two buildings, the existing house and the new garage, it would have to change how this is drawn. And I don't know what's involved in doing that, but it just seems to me, I don't know that it's the easiest solution, but it seems to me it might be the best solution, just simply because it obviates the need for variance at that point.
Yes.
Then you don't have the grade issues to worry about in terms of moving this building. And again, I don't know, maybe I'm asking too much, but it seems to me that that might be the best solution, is just to find a way to, especially since it doesn't have to be sided, it just has to be attached through the roof line, that there's some way, that there might be some way of doing that.
Hey, Kurt, if you could maybe get another shot of the aerial view for the area, that we might be able to see what some of the other properties have done.
While he's doing that, my thoughts are that we're pretty deep into this discussion, but I don't see a solution. There's three options. One is you vote to approve it as it's been submitted. The other is you vote to deny it as submitted, or you ask for some kind of reworking. We could consider tabling this and let the homeowner propose something else that either connects the houses or it recites it, however they want to do it, rather than just denying the variance outright. I would suggest maybe they'd want to take a few more thoughts about this, because we have to recognize that, there is a zoning code, and we also have to respect the neighbors' thoughts about it.
Yeah, Bernie, I would agree with you. I'm still, again, uneasy about approving this as it's presented. I still think that there's a way to obviate the need for the variance. And I would say that either we would, like you said, either we ask the applicant to take another crack at this and table it, or I'll entertain a motion, and we'll see where we're at. At this point, I'm trying to get an understanding.
Well, just so I understand, it's approved by the HOA and the design committee. So as long as it's attached, would then be okay with Mason, and we don't need a variance, and that's all we have to do.
As long as it's confirmed that the setback to the north and to your south is at least 50 feet. And I'm not sure if that has been confirmed here tonight, but that would have to be confirmed. And if that's not the case, then you would have to come back for a variance, even if it is attached.
Okay.
So that would have to be confirmed.
And how does that go? How is that done? Is that done with Bill, or is that done with our surveyor, or how is that done?
Bill, you want to respond to that?
I mean, we could pull the original plot plan, try to print it out to scale and put a scale on it and see what we have. Anything other than that, it would be based on an additional survey.
Am I still on the speaking mode?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. If you look at the site plan, the new site plan, from the edge of the pool, the north edge of the pool, it looks like it's, I think that's 37 or 47 feet to the property line. I mean, that's not exactly the edge of the.
Right there,
Yes.
That's actually like 87 feet.
87.
Okay, so that's 87 feet, and if you follow that line over, I mean, it's not exactly the furthest point, but then so we need to be 50 feet.
So we're on the graphic right here, Mr. Seiler has identified the dimensions that would need to be at least 50 feet. It's the southeast corner of the existing house and the northwest corner of the existing house.
They have to equal 50 added together.
Right. But if you kind of follow that line up, we're going from 87 to probably 60, 55-ish, and then we've got the offset on the other side to the existing. So off the proposed structure of the garage, if it's connected with the breezeway, we're still definitely beyond that 50 feet total from right to left, from side to side, I should say. I guess that's, I'm looking at really small numbers.
The garage becomes part of the main structure. So the two dimensions that are shown would be what would prevail. So
Correct. Yeah.
So this line that I've got drawn there, that basically whatever that dimension is off the house to the property line, you'd have to maintain that from the garage.
Right. Gotcha.
And then as long as it was connected, you wouldn't need a variance.
But it would have to be north of that red line, Kurt, that you
Yes.
just. There.
Yeah.
So, so I guess, that would have to be confirmed. That if you were to attach it, if you met the 50 feet in total in those two dimensions, then yes, you would not need a variance. But if it didn't, then you would have to still have a slight modification to achieve it. So again, I'll reach out to my fellow board members, what your thoughts are in terms of whether we should table this or whether we should vote on it tonight.
I'm okay with tabling it.
I would table it.
Okay, so I think for the applicant's benefit, I think what we're doing here tonight then is we're going to table this and give you an opportunity to perhaps go back with your builder and see what you can do to maybe obviate the need for the variance altogether. And if you're able to do that, then there's no reason to come back to a future meeting. And if you're not, we're more than happy to entertain a subsequent conversation.
Okay.
So with that being said, I would entertain a motion.
Is it another 30 days till the next meeting, or how does that work? If we need the meeting?
It would be another 30 days. That's correct.
Thank you.
But I think what they're saying, Ian, is if we are within the realms, and then we don't need another meeting per se.
That's correct.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion at this point.
I'll make a motion that we table case number PLN 20-30.
I'll second. I'll third.
So Ms. Khan seconded. And Bill, when you're ready.
Mr. Woolfolk,
Yes.
Mrs. Khan,
Yes.
Mrs. Frankie,
Yes.
Mr. Kiesling,
Yes.
Mr. Calpin.
Yes. All right, so this particular variance has been tabled for the applicant to go back and revisit their design with their builder, and whether or not they need to come back to us again or whether they can solve it and not need a variance at all. So Mr. Rodway and Mr. Horstmeyer, I wish you all the best, and we might see you again. So
Thank you very much.
yeah, thank you very much for attending tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so going back to our agenda, last item is our next meeting is scheduled for May 26th. 20, I believe that is a Wednesday, correct? Kurt or Bill?
I thought it was a Tuesday.
That's a
No,
Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. I'm looking at it right now. Is that going to be revised? Are we going to be doing that on Tuesday or Wednesday?
We'll see what the next
I don't
month,
know.
not knowing how much longer we're going to be in this current situation. We're going to take it week by week, just like the governor.
Gotcha. Okay, so right now we're scheduled for May 26th in council chambers, unless we hear otherwise, right?
Right.
Well, yes.
Okay. So anything for the good of the order, Bill, from the city's part for next month that we should be aware of?
We've got one case right now, since I haven't been in the office today, or I won't be in tomorrow, and I got to send the legals out on Friday. So as far as I know, we have at least one case, but I still need to check the mail.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. All right, so with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion we adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
and meeting adjourned. Well, thank you, everyone, for your time tonight on our first virtual zoning board web meeting.
Yeah, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, great job, Kurt. Thanks for all your help.
Yeah,
thanks.
Sure.
And Brian and Dean from ICRC, we appreciate all your
yeah.
hard
Good
work
job.
that happened tonight.
Good job, guys.
All right, guys, signing off.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dean.